One of the great opening lines of any novel that's ever been written. Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And what do we have today? Well, the answer, of course, is yes. What do you choose to see? I'm Joe Ty, CEO of Values Coach, and your coach for this course on the 12 core action values. And today we're talking about the second cornerstone of core action value number 5, perseverance, which is perspective. What do you choose to see? So there's a favorite Thai family story. My brother and his wife have triplets, and when the kids were young, they lived in London, and they were going to move back to the States. And my brother was drilling the kids on American history so they'd be ready for school. And at one point he said to his daughter, Jessie, he said, "Now Jessie, tell me, do you know the significance of the year 1776? And she said, "Yes, Daddy, that was the year King George lost the colonies." How do you choose to see things? Best of times, worst of times. Now here is something very important for you to consider, especially in these times when a lot of people are struggling financially or in their careers or whatever. Your trajectory is much more important than your point in time. Life is not a snapshot, it's a motion picture. And so whatever road bump you hit, if you lose a job, you're running out of money, whatever, look back over the last 3 or 4 years. What has your path been? Have you been moving up? Chances are, whatever this road bump is, you're going to continue that trajectory if you just don't quit. On the other hand, if you have been going downhill for 3 or 4 years and now you take a sharper downward turn, you better ask yourself, what do I have to change? You know the old AA definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Now, here's an important factor for you to consider on perspective. There is a difference between problems and predicaments. One of the promises of the Self-Empowerment Pledge talks about problems and predicaments. The difference is this: a problem has a solution, a predicament does not have a solution. A problem is an alcoholic neighbor. A predicament is an alcoholic mother-in-law. One you can deal with, one you have to live with. If your problem can be solved only by an act of Congress, you got a predicament. Stop whining about it and live with it. On the other hand, if there's something you can do to deal with your problem, or if you can ask for help to deal with it, stop whining about it and work on it. This, of course, is the underpinning of the famous serenity prayer. The courage to change what you can, the serenity to accept what you cannot change, and the wisdom, and I would add, and the courage to know the difference. Joseph Campbell was a great scholar of myth, and he wrote a book called The Power of Myth and many other books on mythology. And he talked about the hero's journey. And he said one of the things that comes out in the hero's journey is that the hero always falls down. There is always that dark spot where you're watching the movie and you want to cover your eyes and say, "Oh no, this is the end." And somehow the hero manages to kill the dragon, to save the girl, and ride off into the sunset. And he said that is a great metaphor for human existence. It's a great metaphor for business. Every business goes through some sort of an economic near-death experience that defines the company at some point. Families do the same thing. Remind yourself when you fall on your face, just say, "Oh yeah, this is the part where the hero falls off his horse and it looks like it's all over." Let me give you a very practical suggestion to help you always maintain that positive perspective, and long-term Spark Plug readers will have heard this before. Anytime you run into a difficult problem, be thankful. Michael Crosby wrote a wonderful book called Thank God Ahead of Time, and that is great advice. You lose your job? Thank you. I don't know why yet, but I will figure it out. Because the sooner you stop being the victim and start being thankful, the sooner you will find that proverbial blessing in disguise, and there is always a blessing, even though it's often well disguised. See you in the next module.